what's up, my little tattletales? And what's up, Sussex squad? Sit down, we need to talk. Y'all, listen, if you haven't heard, Charles has evicted, kicked out Meghan and Harry. But y'all, it's more devious and dastardly than you think. Also, and this is why William needs to take note, it was a pretty smart move if you're an evil Disney villain. But you know what I really want to know? Y'all, when's Spare 2 coming? And Meghan, if you don't get to work on your tell-all, I don't know what you're doing. Now, let me just bring you guys up to date on what is happening. There's been all this infighting between William and his dad. William's mad that Harry even got an invite to the Jubilee, even though Charles is like, shut up, idiot. I don't want them to come. I'm going to make it as hard as possible for them to come. Just listen, this is just for the public. William and his, Lord Voldemort glory is like, no, I don't even want him to have the invitation. They start inviting, Dan Woo and all these people that are sympathetic to William are releasing, articles saying that Charles is a weak man for inviting Harry. Well, Charles never wanted Harry to come, and we're going to see how, but he's a weak man for inviting Harry, just inviting, even though it was a fake invitation. And we're going to talk about how Charles did everything he could to make sure that Harry does not come. All right. But I also want to say this from a logistical standpoint. We're just talking logistics. I'm not saying I agree with it or not. Charles, and William needs to take note from his daddy, even though I'm sure Harry and especially Meghan has one coming for him. He literally killed two birds with one stone. This is because look at this. They're kicking Meghan and Harry out immediately. I'm going to read an article on that. Immediately they have to vacate. It was said that he wanted them out like yesterday. Somehow they reached out to the palace and now they have until summer to vacate. They are so petty and so stupid. And Charles, this is gonna blow up in your face. And guess who Harry's replacement is supposed to be? Yeah, Horsey's son. What do you call a horse kid? What do you call a horsey colt? The young colt. The young colt, Camilla Parker Bowles. And let me just say, he takes after his mommy and his daddy. And let me just say, those inbred genes are strong. But let's keep going, right? We'll talk about that later. So anyway, they want them out. And they plan on moving Andrew from the Royal Lodge to the Frogmore cottage. Now, this is a humiliation for Andrew because he has to downsize big time. As much as they're like, what are you talking about? Frogmore cottage is a great place to stay. It is, considering all the property they have. It was an insult for even Harry and Meghan to move for Frogmore cottage. Andrew's going to have to downsize and move into that cottage, right? That little cottage, and give up the prized estate that the Queen allowed him to live in for decades, okay? Harry and Meghan now get pushed up. Now, all I want to say is this, because there's so much swirling in my mind. Where do I start? Well, let me just start with the most important thing. Here's the thing with Charles, and what everybody gives him the benefit of the doubt, but which I always see. Charles, whenever they're going to do something, they first announce it publicly. They then furiously look through all the public backlash, and then they go ahead and do it. Remember when Meghan said they're going to take away my kids' titles, and everybody's like, you're a liar, Meghan, you're a liar. Even though now, cut to how many years later, now everyone's like, oh, well, no, he's only taking away your titles because that's what you forced them to do. Okay, right? Charles then issued a decree. He issued a statement saying, the sources, that the first thing he does when he becomes king is going to change the proclamation so that Lilibet and Archie don't have titles. If you take away Lilibet and Archie's titles, of course, Harry's title is next. Charles is planning, in my opinion, to strip Harry of his title. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, who cares? Because Harry's a Montecito. Harry lives in a mansion. Harry could care less. Yes, all those things are true. But the fact that Harry was thrown to the wolves in the paper, okay? The fact that they put so much money into Frogmore Cottage to bring it up to livable, the fact that they paid the money back, the fact that they even had them on a shoestring renovation budget, it has to be the biggest insult. And it lets you know that the whole time the queen was in some form, even though I think she could have been more in Harry's circle. The fact that the queen is showing that she kind of was up for Harry in some way, okay? Now, let me just adjust this really quick. Now, let's also talk about what came out in this too. We found out that they wanted to kick Harry out of Frogmore Cottage a minute ago. William wanted to move into Frogmore College. Why do I keep saying college? Listen, wanted to move into Frogmore. As a matter of fact, Charles, being a thinking one, had to be like, no, kiddo, get over here. You can't move into Frogmore. The aesthetic is going to be horrible. But William wanted to do it because he was so desperate to smack Harry down and put him in his place and teach him who's boss, okay? So keep that in mind. That is a family home, one that they paid for, one that they renovated, and Charles wants them out yesterday. But here's the most devious part of it, okay? Here's the devious part. And again, everybody, that Charles is a snake. He always was. Why is he doing this? Because he thinks that he can prop Camilla's son up to be the new dashing royal. Now listen, we'll talk about this in a later video because baby, it is a hot mess. But I understand what they're saying because think about this. You know why we're looking at them like, do you really think you can replace Meghan? Do you really think you can replace Harry? And the question is, they are idiots, but yes, they do. But think about this logic, honestly. Every working royal is propped up. They get good press, the clothes are thing, they run fake polls, they got people. Every working royal is propped up artificially. Think about it. If Camilla or Charles or William or Kate didn't have that giant propaganda machine, the giant media, all this stuff behind them, would anybody really care about them? Absolutely not. A huge portion of their fame is being propped up. So in their minds, if we're all like, you know, toy soldiers and we're propped up, then technically when we're tired of you, we can just get rid of you and bring anybody else in. Because at the end of the day, Charles, you're not in your position because people like you. Neither are you, Camilla. Neither are you, William. Neither are you, Kate. Neither are you, Andrew. Neither are you, Edward. Neither are you, Sophie. None of you guys are there by merit. You were all propped into that position. So they swear that they can just take people out and get anybody, prop them up and make them who they are. Even saying that now that Camilla's son is on the rise, they're going to get millions of likes and billions of clicks. Please, unless it's Horsey Lovers Quarterly, I don't see how that's happening, right? I thought Charles was shutting down the Queen's Horse Farm. Little do we know, Camilla was expanding the operation. But honestly, it goes to their stupidity too, and it goes to why they're dwindling, because maybe in the Queen's time, they had that magic key. But also, you know what? A lot of people talk trash about Queen Elizabeth and how this and the men in gray. You can firmly see that for her time, she had the pulse of the culture and the pulse of the youth. She literally knew what the people wanted. They somehow thought that that was them being infallible. They just don't know what the people want anymore. But here's how it's so devious what Charles is doing. All right. Omid Scooby is reporting that barred from access to police security, there's just one space that meets the Sussex security needs when visiting the UK. Frogmore Cottage. And soon, according to Charles, that will no longer be an option. This is the inside story of his cruel eviction of Harry and Meghan. And Harry and Meghan have confirmed through Omid Scooby that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been requested to vacate their residence at Frogmore Cottage. Now, we do not know if they're going to challenge this. We do not know if they are going to fight this. Let's break down what Omid let us know. 1, Charles is 100% planning on taking away Harry's titles. However, Charles, he's such an idiot. And maybe he doesn't care because he'll be dead and gone. If you open that door to royalty, doesn't mean that it's your blood. Again, I think it's all BS. I hope the monarchy does fall, and I'm happy that Charles is doing the Lord's work. Him and that horsey, literally. Camilla, her daughter, and the grandkids, those are the 4 horsemen. Well, the 4 horsies, right? They come into the apocalypse. We just don't know who's riding them, right? But honestly, when you remove that delineation, what is, and I say this with all sincerity, what is it stopping you right? From taking away William's title. Oh, that's because he's a working royal. Well, what if you say he's not doing his job correctly? Do you see how when you let it be known that to everyone that this royalty thing is nothing but just vanity, there is no such thing, you guys don't even believe it, how in the future, you know, that's the thing about opening doors. When you open the door to push your enemy through, eventually the door swings open by accident and you fall through too, okay? I know that's a weird analogy, but y'all get what I'm saying. Awesome. Remember when Charles came to the Jubilee and came to Prince Philip and thing, they actually, and this is why I'm saying, if you don't get to work on that book, they actually did play the F out of Harry, because Harry didn't think they would ever take away Frogmore Cottage. Clearly, Charles extended the royal protection to Frogmore. Okay? And Harry was like, okay, fine, it's something. Even though we have to stay on Frogmore, and if we leave or go out, we won't have any protection. Charles always did this because he is cunning and he is manipulative and he is a snake that will eat his own, right? You know that old saying, if somebody don't like your mama, they don't like you. And baby, he didn't like your mama. Even though Charles and Harry, their temperaments about how they're willing to risk everything for love, you are more your father's son in that. Anyway, so I know Harry is mad. I think Spare 2 should come out, and I think Meghan better get to work on that tell-all. And I hope and pray that William and or Kate sit down to do an interview for their side of the story. Because baby, every single time they come out with their side on the news, it is so tone deaf and so just out, it just ends up making them look stupid, okay? So anyway, with this move, the Sussex they still are unable to access royal police protection when in the UK. It was only in Frogmore Cottage. This is from Omid Scooby's story. They're saying that it was just a 5-minute walk to Windsor Castle and ensconced within the metropolitan police-led ring of still surrounding the Windsor estate. And it was Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Elizabeth's only sufficiently secure refuge in the country since their access to armed police protection was taken away in 2020. And I got to say this, right? I don't understand why Harry is consistently surprised by his father. And when you think about it, this is all Charles knows, wants, aspires to. It's his everything. Same thing with William. When you look at their point of view, Harry and Meghan are a threat to their way of being, and they are doing everything they can to neutralize the threat. And the thing is, yes, they live in Lord Voldemort Island and it's heinous and evil, but the sooner Harry starts looking at it, that they view you to the biggest threat of their way to life as anything, at least in my opinion, the better off they'll be. I believe that Meghan saw a long time ago that they were on some F-ish and they were declaring war. Why? Because Meghan looks at her dad and was like, you want some F-ish. She knew that they were too, but Harry still thought, and again, you argue, you fight this and that, he didn't think they would go that low. I don't think that he understands, or maybe he does. Maybe he does, because at the end of the day, they said nothing about the Jubilee. And again, all those people being like, oh my God, it was just a coincidence. You planned the Jubilee on the 4th of the kid's 4-year-old, his birthday, Archie's birthday. You did everything you could for him not to come. You just didn't want the world to know that you weren't publicly inviting him. And now you pull away the only safe space he has. Y'all, I hope that place burns, and I hope Spare 2 comes out. Wait, I hope he adds a chapter, limited edition. I read somewhere that he was, but we don't know what's in that chapter, okay? So we're gonna go, okay. Let me just read through this. Okay. The 19th century grade 2 listed sanctuary hasn't come without controversy. There's a $2.4 million of taxpayer funding was spent in 2019 in renovations. However, in January 2020, after stepping away, they reimbursed everybody. They paid the amount in full. The unprecedented sovereign grant reimbursement was also a large sum paid by the couple to the Crown estate, covering the rent on the property for the foreseeable future. Okay, less than 3 years into that long-term lease, Harry's been dealt a crushing blow by his father. A decision made shortly after his revealing memoir Spare was released in January. At a time where communication between Harry and his family has reached an all-time low, further details provided to the couple by the institution have been scant. The property, they were told, is needed for someone else. Its news sources tell me that it's left Harry and Meghan stunned, and at least 2 members of the royal family appalled. The someone else now has been revealed to be Prince Andrew, the late Queen's disgraced son, who was stripped of his titles and paid, for that Epstein stuff, was last week offered the keys to Frogmore by King Charles after being warned he must downsize his Royal Lodge mansion in August. They say Harry and Meghan have until early summer to vacate. Early summer means summer starts June, so they have until basically the end of May. Initially, they were given just weeks, but now they have at least until after the coronation. I bet you they leverage that if they don't come to the coronation, they can go. No word yet on whether the couple will be attending. Invites aren't being sent to its 2,000 guests until next week. The decision on the Sussex home is a clear sign of just how sour relations are between the king and his son. Given the timing of this news, it's hard not to view it as a response to his son's literal tell-all, which is said to have the king spitting mad. This all feels very final and like a cruel punishment. It's like the family want to cut them out of the picture for good. And again, honestly, I gotta say, what did Harry expect? I just hope he comes out swinging and just lives his best life, because at the end of the day, your only choices since birth was to be a useful tool and suffer countless humiliations in the name of the crown, or to be your own man and suffer countless humiliations in the name of you living your own life. It's so sad and disgusting, but it is what it is. It's not about whether Harry wants to cut ties anymore. They have cut ties with Harry. And this is cruel, and it is final. But the one thing about the royal family they don't realize, this is no Princess Margaret. Harry has Meghan. He has his 2 children. Even the way they like to say, oh, marriage isn't forever, Harry, be careful. Yeah, but guess what? Harry doesn't ever need to go back. He will make his life and ties outside of the UK. Because at the end of the day, that little island nation state anyway, right? With Harry's High Court challenge against the Home Office over the decision not to allow him to pay for police protection in the UK still in progress, the loss of Frogmore Cottage means that the Sussexes will soon be without a base in the country, which provides a level of home security senior members of the royal family have access to. No alternative accommodation has been offered. Now, wouldn't it be funny that in Harry's challenge, in order for him to challenge the High Commission, he needs a residence in the UK? And now that they took the residence away, even though Harry and Meghan have so much money, if you don't just go to Notting Hill and get a long-term Airbnb, you know what I'm saying? They're saying that King Charles, they're saying that he also doesn't care about seeing his grandchildren. King Charles is sticking firm with his eviction notice. However, he's focused his priorities elsewhere. The king is fed up with the entire situation. Andrew has not given an answer to the offer, but King Charles ending his annual he's ending his paycheck. He can't afford to live in the Royal Lodge. This and that. They're saying that Andrew has until autumn to leave the Royal Lodge, but is resisting. He's also reportedly covering the cost of private unarmed security to Andrew. I'm sure when he leaves the Royal Lodge, he'll cut that off too. Yeah, this is sad. This is sad. Oh, this is the last thing I want to say. Last year, William briefly had his eye on his brother's 7-bedroom home before choosing the nearby Adelaide cottage for his family. William had questions about whether Harry and Meghan's home could be an option, but the option. How evil do you have to have one castle, a few mansions, and Adelaide Cottage, which is, they call it a cottage, but it looks like a mansion, and you still want what Harry has? You guys, this has been a mess. This is sad. This is cruel. But you know what? I will say one thing, and I don't think Charles and William counted on this. I feel like everything Harry's done up to this point, yeah, he's, but he's kept his gloves on. He could have dragged them worse. He could have went in on the worst. They have been oddly respectful, even though they've been oddly dragging them. This is the way, that line, Harry and Meghan. Now that the gloves are off, and they're saying F you, I can't wait for this summer, because I feel like Harry and Meghan's going to be like, F me, nah, baby, F you. Y'all, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you later. Bye.